welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Katharine Coldiron from KColdiron.com.
Yes, welcome back again, Katharine. Thanks for sticking with us this week.
It's a treat.
It's a treat. Well, opinions may vary. I mean, it's certainly a treat to have you here.
Well,
Most of the movie content. We'll see.
It's a treat to talk about Star Wars every day for a week in great detail. I love it.
We once thought the same as you. Today we're talking about, no, we do love what we do, and we joke about it, but
we kid.
Yeah, we kid, but it's wouldn't trade it for anything. Minute 38 is what we're here to talk about today. 38 starts with Poe flipping some switches, trying to get Ochi's ship to start up, and it ends with Ochi's ship starting up. So, hey, there we go. Way to go, Poe.
1 minute of switch flicking.
Switch flicking, which I love. I have said this before, I think, that I want the ability to have things start up more that way. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think if you sold a $1 million idea, maybe not $1 million, but if you were just to market kind of
idea.
Star Warsy, kind of, vaguely sci-fi looking power strips or control module or something like that. So like you plug it in and then it's like a little box that looks almost like a Star Wars control panel. And it's got like complicated Star Warsy looking switches, but all it does is turn on like the lamp. Like I would totally buy one of those and put it like over here. I'd sit down to set up my podcast thing and be like, okay, like little Jenny switches and lighted controller things. And
I'll do you one better. I used to really crave an LCARS system for my desktop, for my computer. And I found out that there are nerds who have done this. You have to run Unix and you have to, typically nerd stuff. And it's like, it's not quite there yet because we're not quite at the technology level of LCARS yet where it's all touch and,
right.
But that design, man, I love it. And I'm glad we're talking about Blinky Buttony panels because Blinky Buttony panels are my favorite thing in terms of a control system. And I was so happy when we finally went to Disneyland and found that one of the rides, it depends on you to press Blinky Buttony things in order to make the ride happen. I was like, yes, this is what people want. I am really curious though, because my husband studies, feedback, whether people who in younger generations feel the same way about me, and it seems like you guys, about wanting a button you can press so that there's feedback there, that something has happened. We just bought a new sound bar that doesn't have buttons. It just has little, and you rest your finger on them. And I hate it because I can't tell that I have given feedback to the machine. And I want the Blinky Buttony. And I'm dying to know if this is true for people who grew up well after those of us who grew up on buttons.
That's a good question. I mean, because nothing, when you turn play in your Walkman, that satisfying click, you feel like a physical clunk to it. Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder, without that, that nostalgia for that, will the kids who grow up swiping and just using iPads?
I mean, I've observed that with phones, you still have feedback. Like you can see that the button, even if the button isn't physically pressed on a touch screen, the buttons move in a way that indicates that they have been pressed. And if you didn't have that feedback, then I think it wouldn't work. But yeah.
Right.
Blinky Buttony panels for life.
Absolutely.
I would love it if to start your car, we have one of those fobs where you just have to sit in the car and press one button that just says start. I would love it if it was like 10 switches up on the, by where the eye shade was that you had to go, like that would be awesome. Let's do that.
And that could be a good anti-theft thing. You have to hit them in the right order.
Yeah.
Like if you got in there and you had to do like 5, 1, 6, 2 or something like that to get it to. That's not my pin. Don't worry, anybody.
Well,
but if you just had to do them in the right order, to start up the car.
Yeah, that
then
happens
could
in Mad
help.
Max Fury Road, where the
right.
switchy, she has this special switch situation.
Yeah. So that's I'm all for this. Everybody get to it. I was going to say on the other end of things though, we also have the in the Star Trek world, there's a little bit too much of Alexa going on in my house, and that feedback, that kind of version of the future sometimes is I'll complain about. So
Yeah.
it's often satisfying, but also just kind of too. I don't know. I think I've gotten over it's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could just say, computer do this? And it's, yes, it is. But also then sometimes it's not. And it makes it hard to actually watch Star Trek because
I mean,
they're
I
always
think we're
telling the
really,
computer to do
I
stuff.
think we're really bad at developing interaction systems between humans and machines, like the way that the computer responds to commands. And Amazon tried to fix that by having this device named Alexa, which is not a common name. It's not like if you named it Jim or something. But it's still not a perfect system. And in order for humans to interact with computers, it has to be perfect. It has to be 100% of the time responsive. Otherwise, we're not going to trust it. And yeah, so that's part of why I'm for buttons that move and switches that move. It's like, that you have gotten the computer's attention when you press a button.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So there's a business opportunity there. Somebody set up some things that actually feel satisfying and turn things on or off.
And put LCARs on my phone, damn it.
Yeah. While you're at it.
Okay, let's talk about Ochi's ship.
Yes.
Okay. I like it. I like that we're seeing the inside of a new ship. I feel like other than Imperial ships, I feel like we don't see enough of inside of spaceships generally in Star Wars. You know what I mean? It sounds weird because I know we do see a lot of. Anyway, I feel like Ochi's ship stands out to me. It's much more like a Millennium Falcon type setup as opposed to like we see a lot of Imperial and Rebel ships, but I like these kind of independent ships that we see. But anyway,
yeah,
I would agree with you if it didn't resemble the Falcon so much, because for instance, what is Mando's first ship? The Razor Crest. The Razor Crest is an interesting design, and it's not. The inside of it's unusual. We see the weapons place in the bathroom and where the prisoner sits and all this. It's a different design, whereas Ochi's ship to me looks an awful lot like a freighter for smuggling.
It's like Dash Rendar's. What was his ship called? The Outrider.
The Outrider. Speaking of people naming themselves cool things. Yeah, I like it, and I like that it's different enough that it's not down to the interior, kind of not just the layout, but the design things. Like there's this weird kind of like roll cage or something that's like padded. It almost looks like BMX handlebars or something like that coming from the ceiling that Finn almost hits his head on there. It's like, there's just weird, new, different stuff in here, but still within the Star Wars thing. It's not like so different that it's like wild, like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the ones in the prequels got a little, and as well they should have, different designs coming from different cultures, but it felt like it's rewarding that this is not being different at all. It's not taking any chances here. It's very, very much like, here's some Star Wars buttons. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what I want.
Well, but it comes back to the cynical question of, did you bring this ship into the universe so you could sell another toy? And if you have a ship that's very different on the outside but pretty similar on the inside, then yes, that is probably what you did. You because you don't need to design the inside of the toy, you just need to design the outside of it. And so to make this ship that looks different exterior but has this very consistent interior, I feel like I'm being sold something.
Alex is looking this up, do they make a toy of Ochi's ship?
That's a good question. No, I was actually looking up because, as we'll learn, we saw this ship in Force Awakens.
Right.
This is the ship that Rey sees taking off, and I was looking to see if I guess they basically.
Oh no! Can you imagine a play set with the ship taking off and a little Rey screaming on the ground? No,
like a Lego, because they give them the little legs and it's a little.
It does seem like they basically, I guess, had to start with that exterior design, and they kind of used that. And yes, there is a Bestoon Legacy. That's the name of Ochi's ship. No, you know what? I looked up toy, and it doesn't seem like there is a toy of it. I'm sure there's someone put together a Lego set or something, but it doesn't seem like they marketed a toy about it.
Well,
Strange.
then I'm wrong. For once, my cynicism about Disney marketing toys has been like, I'm usually right on that.
Maybe they intended to, but then it just it was going to be like the second wave, and once the movie was not as well received, they were like, okay, let's just drop all the future toys. Anyway,
well, I have a
question.
Well, not a complaint. It is an interesting. We were talking about Finn not having enough to do, and he gets in here, and they're kind of helping get the ship going, and he's looking out, and they're anxious to get going, and so he turns to Chewie. He's like, "Chewie, tell Rey we've got to go." And I'm like, "Well, Chewbacca's really the one I would want helping me get my ship ready to go. Finn, you were a garbage man until like last year, so
yeah.
Why don't you go tell Rey, and I'll help set the ship up? This is Chewbacca's kind of prime function in these movies. One of the main things that he does. Like on his resume, like getting the ship ready to go in as many movies as you can think of.
Yeah.
So it seems like an odd choice, and also why? If I were Chewie, I would be like, I mean, maybe I'd be happy. Maybe be like, oh, finally, I don't have to get the ship ready to go. Let me go do some other stuff.
It's a backwards engineered choice because we had to, because of what's going to happen in the next week is Chewie is going to supposedly die, and we can't have, Alex, I'm sorry.
Hit him with a moon.
And you have to figure out a way to get Chewie out of the ship and on the ground. So so you've got this logic for that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you have to backwards engineer it to make it work. So yeah, chalk one up for me complaining about the screenwriting.
Is there any reason why this shouldn't have been Finn? Like if Finn went out to go, he's the one who's always concerned about her. If he went out, he got captured. They bring him, there's nothing like specifically Chewbacca related that happens once Chewbacca is.
Well, I assume that if the First Order captured Finn, they would probably kill him because he's a traitor.
Probably.
You know what I mean? They would just kill him. So.
But it's story motivated. Finn has to be the strut for Rey for the hero, and Chewbacca doesn't speak, so he can't do that. And that's another thing. He's a non-speaking character, so he's a little bit less useful in terms of story. And
let's have him go tell Rey what's up.
Yeah.
The guy who doesn't talk. Let's have him. I mean, we know that Rey can understand him, but
yeah. I like that we have a new direction for Finn in that he's wondering where Rey is. This is something we've never a new side of Finn we've never seen before.
Yes.
Falling back into his old habits of wondering where Rey was. Come on, Tom Taylor, give us that supercut of Finn yelling for Rey all the time and asking where Rey is.
Not just that. I want to hear all the times that characters say other characters' names in these movies, in the Disney movies. Because especially, I think we counted, what did we end up with? Like 26 times that somebody says Han Solo in The Force Awakens? Something like that?
Oh, just in The Force Awakens?
Just in The Force Awakens.
Wow.
They say the full, Han Solo. Yeah. Not Captain Solo, not, whatever. Not Han. Just Han Solo as a full thing. It was, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was definitely a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the supercut of all the times that characters say other characters' names in these movies.
Come on, everyone.
That would be a long supercut.
Probably.
And it's not as bad. There are other movies where it's worse, I would say. I'm thinking about Titanic. The number of times they say Jack and Rose is, but yeah.
I haven't seen Titanic.
So
at all?
No.
Finn sends Chewbacca out on his to go retrieve Rey, and Another reason Chewie seems like he'd be a bad choice is because he must be hot as heck. Being a big furry monster
God.
in this. And also, poor Junus, or I assume it's Junus and not a stuntman, having to run around in this Jordanian desert wearing a fur coat. It just looks weird also seeing Chewie. I don't recall ever seeing him kind of like run around. He has a kind of very Bigfooty lope where he's like kind of like hunched over and so.
Yeah, I mean he's best. Chewie's best in medium shots, in my opinion. Like when you have him from the waist up, because from the waist down you get a bunch of questions. Like what is up with his feet? Like why doesn't he wear clothes? Well, you know, it's a lot of things that you can't answer in universe, and so it's daring to show a full size, you know, a full shot of Chewie. But you're right, it's weird.
It's like the Muppets. When you see the Muppets' legs, it's always kind of off-putting and disorienting.
Do you think there's green screen people helping move his legs that were digitally erased?
Yes.
I don't think the costume's that heavy.
6
I'm
people
trying to think of what
operate to Chewbacca costume.
Like we saw, I'm trying to think of like a full, like when he's kind of scared of the
Dianoga.
What is he scared of? He's scared of the Dianoga, I guess, and we see him kind of cowering a little bit. That's like pretty much a full body shot. I'm trying to think of
we
other
get some
times
full
where we
body
see
shots
him
of him on Endor.
Yeah.
In Jedi. Not many,
Right.
but a few when he's with the Ewoks. Just I think that's a good sort of moment of scale to see Chewie next to the Ewoks. And there's when they're running around Vader's ship in A New Hope, I think we see him maybe once. I don't know. A lot of medium shots.
Yeah. Which works.
I think some kind of pants and shoes would be the most, like, if he was going to have any articles of clothing, that's what it would be. I mean,
shoes, definitely.
Shoes, and shorts for, you know, like, at least shorts to protect your seat cushions and stuff like that. You don't want just someone's bare butt on your...
He's not a bear.
But dogs don't wear pants.
That's true.
But dogs sometimes will wear shoes.
And a lot of people don't let their dogs on
not
the
of their
furniture.
own volition. They're not choosing to put on shoes, but
like it just occurred to me a couple of years ago that it's really weird that Smokey the Bear doesn't wear a shirt.
They have a whole
and something about his shirtlessness has started to like upset me. So when I see Chewbacca, I think about that.
We have a whole we'll call it a bit, but it's a routine with my kids where we've like how to tell apart your fictional bears. So it's like, you know, pants, no shirt, Smokey. Shirt, no pants, Winnie the Pooh. Hat, tie, no shirt, no pants, that's Yogi. You know, you got to kind of like, they're mainly defined by their outfits.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But
Chewbacca is just, you know, bandolier, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I appreciate that. When you go commando, you go all the way, but I don't know.
But you still need pockets. So.
You hinted at this yesterday, Catherine. Ochi's ship. I learned from the Star Wars Visual Dictionary that it has been there for 14 years. Which seems a long time for a functional spaceship to be sitting there unperturbed. Like, I guess there's no Jawas on Pisana, or no one who's flying over being like, you know, I've been flying over and seeing that ship just sitting there for 2 weeks now and not moving. Maybe I'll go check it out. You know what I mean?
I'm just picturing like a sheaf of tickets on the windshield.
Or
under the wiper.
And
someone put a boot on it.
And other things like that. Someone steals his tires. It's up on like cinder blocks.
Well, so didn't we learn that Pisana is kind of a like not a useful planet for the First Order or for the Rebellion, and so it's kind of that the locals are not interested in technology, obviously, from what we saw from that festival. So I think if on any planet you could have a ship just sit there for 14 years, this would probably be a good one. And that it's only 14 years, you know, takes some of the air out of my argument about, you know, how long can a ship sit there? I still have that question just because of the Falcon and how long it's been operating and how long it sat in Unkar Plutt's junkyard. But yeah, I guess 14 years isn't that long.
Yeah. I don't think the Falcon was there for that long either. It changed hands a lot of times and it was doing its But yeah, 14 years. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean,
it is a dry climate, so it's not going to be inclined to rust.
Yeah.
The way it would be if it was on a tropical planet. You'd think it would just be,
Right, but it's outside too. It's like it's got to be kind of sun baked. Like I bet all the kind of the seats are cracked and stuff like that, and the steering yoke, probably but anything that's not, metal is probably all cracked. Anything that is metal is probably super hot. They should have had scenes of Poe being like, ow, ooh, kind of.
Totally. Or they should have had one of those silver, like windscreen things with a picture on it.
Or
taking
that could have been a good kind of, because I've seen a lot of ones where people have the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon with the four, with those. So that they should have taken one of those down, and it could have been a little meta moment.
It's funny to think that they could exist in universe because, it's been established that these were famous people. Like, these are historical figures. Leia, Luke, Han, and although Leia's not in it, Obi-Wan's in it.
So Chewbacca could have taken the little sun thing off of the windshield and then looked at it, and it's got him on it, and then he could have looked at the camera and been like,
done like a double take.
He's on
Where's my medal?
Right, yeah.
Okay. There are some cool shots of the Knights of Ren looking at Chewbacca as if he is prey, which is interesting, but is, part of why it's odd that it's stormtroopers who capture him. But that's later.
Yeah. And well, my question at first before I didn't watch them all before going back and taking the notes. So my question was answered shortly, but I was like, well, why are they just kind of standing there watching him? Which is only mildly answered because it's like, well, what's their goal here? Why are they capturing Chewbacca? Because they want to get everybody else, I guess. They're mainly after Rey, but so I guess they'll try to use him to get to Rey, but it's an odd.
I mean, I think the implication of the shot is that the Knights of Ren are predators and our friends are the prey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the shot is any more, I guess, specific than that. And that's part of why I think it's pretty dumb that it's not. I mean, again, it's not my minute, but that the stormtroopers captured Chewbacca was a surprise to me when we cut to that. I'm like, wait, what? No, that's not been established. Like, what's established is the Knights of Ren are here stalking them, and
we did meet a stormtrooper first on the planet, but he might have just been there for the festival. Like, he might have just been like cops. But we're not sure.
Well, they specifically sent them to Pisana because remember Kylo Ren stole Rey's necklace.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But when the first time they encounter the stormtroopers, it's not like, aha, we found them. It's just kind of like, hey, you. I guess they are going around looking for people.
But it's two different sets of people. Like, we don't have any in movie explanation for the Knights and the stormtroopers are working together. What we see is Kylo Ren ordering a division of stormtroopers, let's say, to go to Pisana.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see the Knights of Ren in their album cover shot. And we don't see that those things are connected to each other. So I get that the Knights of Ren are supposed to be malignant stalkers. And I get that the stormtroopers are there, the cops patrolling the parade. But the fact that the Knights are watching Chewbacca, it doesn't follow that the stormtroopers would capture Chewbacca. So either one or the other, in my opinion, needs to change. Either the minute that I'm talking about or the minute that someone else is going to talk about later. Like, that's,
One thing I'm disappointed about R.E., the Knights of Ren, and Chewbacca is we never get a scene really between Kylo Ren and Chewbacca. And because they theoretically would have had at least somewhat of a relationship because Chewbacca was Han Solo's like pal, you know what I mean? Like, there's
oh my God, there's the most heartbreaking webcomic of this where it shows Chewbacca like carrying little Ben on his shoulders and like they play together and they have all this, and then at the end it shows, oh my God, it's so tragic. But I think they just didn't want to conjure that. That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess to me, I would rather spend more time with the relationships of the character, especially in the last film. I would rather see relationships as the characters that have already been established rather than introducing Kerry Russell as a new character who's just kind of like, what
Alex, me too, man. Me freaking too.
She
But,
flies
you
a
know.
Y-wing.
She's
I
cool.
know.
I'm not
Oh,
arguing
yeah.
against her.
She's a good character, but it's just like, why then? And, you know,
Right.
anyway.
Again, it's further support for the hypothesis that splitting this into two episodes might have served everything better. If we had episode 9 to wrap up the sequel trilogy and episode 10 to wrap up the saga.
Yeah.
Although backing up for a second, I wanted to talk about Rey, because this is where everything starts with her, this next sequence with her. And I just did note that, like, hey, hanging out with a Jedi is just a lot of, like, you just have to kind of accept that they're just going to, like, stare off into space and sometimes just, like, walk away without telling you things. And, like, it's not weird for them to just be like, in the middle of a sentence to kind of walk off and do their thing. And
Or talk to an invisible
when we're
person
involved
or-
cinematically, we know what's going on because we hear the sounds, we see the kind of, but like if you're she's having a conversation, all right, we're getting in the ship, ready to go. Where are you going? And it's just like, oh, she's got to walk off and
It's
do
like
a
being
thing.
friends with a junkie.
It's like having,
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you guys have kids who are wanderers, but like there are kids who just wander off.
Yeah.
And the first time I encountered one, I was like, oh, that's why there are leashes for children, is because they just off they go. Like, where did you were just here 30 seconds ago?
Although I love the idea of Rey being on a tethered to
On a leash.
to Finn. That way Finn would stop losing her all the time.
But it'd be like a cutesy, like kind of like a stuffed animal kind of a thing. But within the universe, it would be like a loft cat or like a
porg.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I do want to remark on Rey's outfit because I don't know how much you guys have talked about the costumes, honestly,
Very
but
little.
something I noted in the prequels is that even before he turns to the dark side whatsoever, it's obvious that Anakin likes black and he likes leather. And that's just his preference as a human being, is those are the clothes that he wears. Obi-Wan likes earth tones and beige stuff. And so those things to me are somewhat indicative of characterization, the same way that in a Western you have a white hat and a black hat, and Star Wars is a Western, so this makes sense. But Rey, it made a lot more sense to me at the end of The Last Jedi when she was wearing gray. And that was like her, or no, I guess it was end of Force Awakens. But she had this outfit that was gray and padded, and so she's in the middle, right? And so for her to be wearing white through this whole movie is sort of a dead giveaway. And yet it's also something of, Anakin could have gone either way. I think you could argue if you take the prequels as of themselves, the fact that he likes black leather is kind of not necessarily indicative of which way he was going to go. It's just a character trait. And so Rey liking white makes sense to me. On the other hand, like she's in the desert, she's in a swamp. Her outfit is pristine through the entire film, and I don't know what to make of that.
Force power. It repels any dirt. Force martinizing.
It's Teflon coated, like that's great. Oh gosh.
Now that you mention
Okay.
it, I'm kind of disappointed they didn't keep Leia's white theme going from Star Wars and Empire, and then she just kind of just turns into kind of whatever generic clothes happen to be around,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, she switched from going back. Let's talk about costumes in older movies that we're not. But
why we're here.
I mean, in she does get the red kind of maroon get up in Bespin in
It's true.
Empire,
Look
but
how
then
well
goes back and has the
But that has
hybrid kind of
beige-
look.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that Leia is generally in lighter clothes during the first 3 movies. And she is wearing these sort of dungaree type darker clothes in the sequels.
Yeah.
Anywho, so yeah, this is the scene from the trailer where we see her kind of wandering the
Starts
desert,
it.
getting ready for her confrontation with her with Kylo Ren.
Yeah, most of that happens tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah.
So I figured we could.
I
Talk
think
about that
it's
there.
funny that Kylo Ren, I know they're part of a dyad, blah, 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 but I do think it's funny that Kylo Ren and Rey can sense each other like literally across the galaxy. But meanwhile, Darth Vader was torturing his daughter and had no concept at all that she was a. It's almost like he didn't realize he was. It's almost like George Lucas didn't know Leia was his daughter when they did those scenes. But
almost.
But anyway, yeah.
I mean, there are headcanon explanations for that in my view, but I agree. The way that they're connected is iffy in my view.
Kylo and
Kylo and Rey, yeah. And I do love these shots of her though. The color is fantastic, and they're very heroic, excellent shots, and I like them.
Yeah, along the lines of what we said, the movie is always shot, it's beautifully shot and directed and all that. So you can't.
Yeah, the production design is good. I mean,
yeah.
Well, we do have a lot more Rey tomorrow. Can you both? I guess I'll have both of you. Can both of you come back tomorrow to talk about that?
Well, was there a night of the day? I missed it if there was.
Sure. Let's see who we have today.
Knight.
Yeah.
Of the day.
Otis night. Otis day and the nights. What is that?
Today, let's do Trudgeon.
Trudgeon.
That's a good one.
Oh,
Trudgeon.
I can't see it. There he is.
Wednesday.
Trudgeon. He's got a big blade. He's a badass, that guy.
Oh, who is that guy? No, I'm thinking about that video game guy, the Japanese RPG.
Final Fantasy kind of.
Is that because there's this guy with a blade 4 times the size of him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's from
what
Final
that
Fantasy. I've never played them, but I know that I see that around. It's a popular cosplay thing, and also
Trudgeon is a collector of trophies from fallen conquests. Trudgeon adds to his weapons and armor as his victories grow. So I guess if he kills you and he thinks you have a better weapon than he does, he takes that one.
In true video game fashion, he loots the corpses.
Yes, exactly. When not swinging the hefty blade in combat, Trudgeon either rests the blunt end over his shoulder, holds it via the weight-reducing holes lining the blade spine, or attaches bandolier straps to it and slings it over his back. Bladed weapons seem like a poor choice in the Star Wars universe.
Agreed.
I mean, obviously lightsabers are bladed, but they at least can cut through whatever. But just a regular blade, a metal blade, why bother with that?
It is a very metal universe. That's funny.
Very metal universe.
Right. Just ask the knife of Ran. I want to say my initial research says Cloud from Final Fantasy, but if I'm wrong, somebody's already corrected me, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know. Someone is shouting at me for not knowing the name of this guy, but yeah.
What a bunch of clouds.
Cloud. Well, all right, let's reconvene tomorrow and talk more about Rey. In the meantime, we are, as far as we can tell, still hanging out on some social media venues. We're on Instagram at The Star Wars Minute. We're on the TikTok at also The Star Wars Minute, I think. Twitter, we're just Star Wars Minute. No the. We got a Mastodon, Meerkat, Hive, all those other ones. I don't think we have the new one yet.
Sky Blue.
Sky Quest. Anyway, find us. We're usually Star Wars Minute or The Star Wars Minute. And we'll be back tomorrow with a new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute!